Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. It's now been 3 weeks and law enforcement has still not made an arrest in the 4 University of Idaho students' murders. Over the weekend, we heard from Kaylee's family quite a bit, and in one of their interviews, Kaylee's mother said that she felt certain suspects were cleared too soon. This morning, I came across an article where Kaylee's father, Steve, actually talks about who he thinks was cleared too soon. This comes to us from the New York Post. It was published just this morning, so I will link the article in the description below. The grieving father of murdered University of Idaho student Kaylee Goncalves is working with his own private investigators because he fears cops in the major case are too inexperienced. Steve raised his fears Sunday in an exclusive interview with the Post, saying he was also concerned that one suspicious character had been ruled out too quickly, seemingly allowing him to flee the country without taking a DNA test. He lashed out at the lack of leads coming from cops who backtracked on claims that the killer appeared to be targeting at least one of the 4 roommates and had yet to even suggest a profile of the likely slasher. One of the murder squad officers is only 26, he complained, meaning he was only 19 when the sleepy city of Moscow last had a slaying in 2015. So they're just inexperienced, and I don't want anyone making mistakes in my child's case. Also blasting the officers as not exactly the most tech-savvy people. As well as his own fears, Goncalves said started working with private investigators because there were enough insiders telling us we should be concerned about the lack of any clear leads in the November 13th murders of his 21-year-old daughter and her 3 friends. I talked to detectives, he said, making clear he was keeping away from the internet sleuths whom he dismissed as Hollywood shit. One of the private detectives I talked to has 50 years in the game, he said of his outside help. The gumshoe told him that he had to break cases when there wasn't DNA, suggesting younger cops rely on it too much. We're trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, he said of police investigators. The grieving dad still hopes cops will be heroes and prove him wrong by ultimately emerging with breakthroughs that solve the case. I'll apologize. I'll come out and say these guys had amazing DNA or some evidence and good for them. I was giving them shit and I take it back. I'd love to be wrong and we can get this guy, he told the Post. Goncalves said he is only speaking out because of his alarm at the lack of leads, including the refusal to release an official profile of the likely slasher in the November 13th attack. That would give all these other girls that are walking around that community somebody to look out for. Don't make more victims, he warned. He admitted that he also fears that a hoodie-wearing man spotted lingering near his daughter and her best friend Madison Mogen, also 21, was ruled out too quickly for killing the pair and their 2 friends. Some people came to us and said that he's out of the country. He didn't take a DNA test, he said. So we would like the police to tell us what his alibi was, he said, saying he would be able to move on if they could confirm it was solid. So apparently this is whose alibi he's wanting to know. Vague, mixed messaging on whether the killer likely targeted at least one of the 4 roommates and why could also lead to a dangerously false sense of security, he warned. I've heard people talk to reporters and say that they'd be way more scared if it wasn't targeted. Some people think that means they, the victims, were gambling, or they were doing drugs, or they were doing something that really made them, the killer, come after them, he said of the lack of info. My message is, I think having a couple of beers with your girlfriend, going home, texting, and crashing out in the bed together. I think a lot of girls did that, he said, of his daughter and Mogen, who were sleeping in the same bed in a 3rd-floor bedroom when they were killed. And a lot would be targeted if that's all they did, he said. His daughter and her best friend were brutally stabbed to death along with Xana Kernodle and her boyfriend, Ethan Chapin, both 20, who were in a bed on the 2nd floor. The 2 other roommates who were asleep on the ground floor of the Moscow home were unharmed and likely slept through the bloodbath, police said. Goncalves bluntly admitted on Fox and Friends Sunday that he does not feel confident in the investigation. I did sit down with the lead investigator and I looked in his eyes and I got a sense that this guy was going to do everything in his power to figure something out. But if the evidence isn't there, that's the part that I'm concerned about. And that's why I push the envelope and say a little bit more than police want him to air publicly on what he gets told. I hate to be that guy, but everybody has a job and a role to play, and this is my role as the parent. The Moscow Police Department, which is being helped by state police and the FBI, did not immediately respond to a request for comment. On Saturday, the force declared that it was working through around 6,500 tips submitted, including more than 1,000 to the FBI. Investigators also had 113 pieces of physical evidence, as well as around 4,000 crime scene photos, the force said. Still, at this time, no suspect has been identified, stating that only vetted information that does not hinder the investigation will be released to the public, because speculation without factual backing has been stoking community fears and spreading false information. So, what do we know about the mysterious food truck guy? He's believed to be Jack S. because very early on, someone came out and identified him. However, I don't know that original source, and we're not 100% sure that this is even the same person. These are the facts we know about Jack. He goes by either Jack or John Showalter. He either was or is a member of Delta Tau Delta. He has familiarity with hunting and cleaning animals per his Facebook account. He's from Boise, a child of 2 doctors, a pediatrician, and an orthopedic surgeon, also per Facebook. He's friends with Madison on Instagram, and the first picture I showed was from one of Xana's TikToks. Now for the rumors. His alleged alibi is that he drove home to Boise on the night of the murders. Also, that he currently traveled to Africa, where his parents are known to have participated in charitable work. That he got kicked out of the corner club the night of the murders. That he got kicked out of his fraternity, that he is a neighbor or lives in close proximity to 1122 King Road, that he is possibly adopted per Facebook evidence, that his siblings constitute an adoptive family and does not appear to resemble his parents or older siblings, that he wrestled in high school, and of course, last but not least, that he is in fact the hoodie guy from the grub truck video. Now, law enforcement says that the male seen in the grub truck video is not a suspect at this time, but it appears Kaylee's family is very suspicious of him, so let me know what you think down below in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Please do me a favor and like this video, subscribe, and turn on the bell icon to get notifications for when I post.